Hey, welcome everyone. It's Thursday, and it's time for the best little wrestling podcast in the business. That's right. This is episode 24. We're live from STS Studios in St. Louis, Missouri, to do the Thursday edition, which is the Cool Kids Countdown, which we do every other week with my host, Lance LeVine. A few things I want to get out of the way. On Mondays, I post the guest during Raw, who's going to be on the Tuesday show. And also, on Fridays, we post the most downloaded episode of the week. And also, on Sundays, we post the top 5 most downloaded episodes. This is episode 24, so it'll be the top 5 of those 24. And you can get that on Twitter at comicbookmarkbt. That's right, at comicbookmarkbt. I want to thank everyone. I keep getting best interview ever. Almost everybody that says it. I do thank you when it comes to episode 20. I had a real good time. So if you haven't listened to episode 20, go back and listen to it. Good episode. I enjoyed it. It seems to come across about what this podcast is about. And it's about me just sitting. I want it to seem like I'm just sitting across the table talking to someone, just shooting a shiznit with either someone I've known for a long time or someone I don't know. And so it seemingly that episode came across the best that way. So, guys, also want to thank everyone for buying T-shirts. I just looked at the sales today, and I was kind of floored and kind of excited. Thank you for going out of your way and buying shirts. I don't really keep a tab. They just put some money in my PayPal, and all of a sudden I noticed we've been selling a lot of shirts. If you hadn't bought your Shooting the Shiznit shirt, and we're changing it around, we're not going to do the T-shirt of the month anymore. I'm going to probably get a 6-pack or an 8-pack of shirts that we'll sell. So go to www.stspod.club. At the top there on the right side, there's a shirt. There's a link to go to the shirt, so that you guys can get a link there. We're doing shirts, mugs, stickers of all our designs there. Okay. I just want to do a big shout out to Gina, Scotty, Philip, Stacy, and who apparently listened to the podcast going home from shows. And then we have Ed, who, and that's at Bird33WV from Twitter. He always gives me some great feedback, and I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate the feedback. I know there's tons of podcasts out there, and if you make my 30-minute one once every week, or it's 2 episodes every other week, as part of your listening, I do appreciate it. Also, I want to give a shout out to my podcast bros that Suplex City Limits, Creative Control, Local to Legends Wrestling Radio. You guys do search on iTunes, and you'll be able to find those guys and us on iTunes. And we're also available on Stitcher and SoundCloud. Also, special announcement, and then we'll get to the episode. We're also going to be what I'm calling syndicated to another website. We'll be on Wrestling to Max website. That's Wrestling to Max. That's W2, that's the number 2, mnet.com. That's W2mnet.com. Every week there's also a possibility that I'm going to have exclusive stuff there, either a column or possibly just some exclusive Shooting the Shiznit stuff. We'll see. Hey guys, let's y'all just quit listening to me and let's get started here on the new episode of the Cool Kids Countdown.
And she says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the cool kids, they seem to fit in. I wish that I could be like the cool kids, like the cool kids.
It's Thursday, and welcome to Cool Kids Countdown. It's a special edition of Shooting the Shiznit with my co-host, Lance LeVine. How's it going, Lance?
Hey, first off, it's the mediocre Lance LeVine. You should know this by now. And second off, what's up, hot ass?
Hot ass, that's me, baby. Hey, if you haven't listened to Tuesday's show, go back right now, listen to it. Hot ass comment. That was a real fun show to do, and just hilarious that some things that people will send people in their inboxes at Facebook. So tonight with the top 10 countdown, we're going to do something. We hear people bitching, whining, moaning all the time, but tonight we're going to give you 10 ways to improve 205 Live?
I'm going to say not all the ideas feed off of each other. They're somewhat, some of them will be a little contradictory, but any of these things that they do, if they do 2 or 3 of these things, it'll help improve the show. It's just been a hard watch. I used to watch it like the first 2 months, 3 months of it. I would always watch it, and now it's completely fallen by the wayside for me.
I agree.
Just one of those, one of those things that you just don't have time for anymore in wrestling.
That along with those 6-man tags at New Japan. So.
Yep, exactly. So we'll start the list off. Our first entry is at number 10, go to a new arena or film it at Full Sail.
All right, so this is the main thing. This show comes on after SmackDown. The crowd is just almost completely dead. You also have these guys, they're wrestling on Raw, which we'll touch on that before the end of the night. But the main thing is you need to get these guys into a hot arena, small arena, packed, almost just like Full Sail is when they're good and hot there at NXT. They could always film it there. They could be on the road and film it. ROH actually films in smaller arenas, and when they have a hot crowd and you only film X amount of shows, hot crowd is going to make this show. They've got the talent. They just need people watching that will invest in the characters and invest in what's going on. And they're going to invest in it if that crowd's chanting and getting into the matches. Similar to what they're doing with the UK show. UK show's in a dark arena kind of thing. But, the crowd makes you want to be part of the show.
Yeah, I think they really missed the boat by not being in a packed rockin' arena, whether it's at Full Sail or just taking it on the road. I've been to NXT here in Chicago, and it's a raucous crowd. It attracts a raucous crowd. It's a fun crowd. We complain about the chants and that they want to take over the show, but at least they provide for a lively show. The crowd they have now doing it after SmackDown is dead. And I just think that my thought was that they do 4 weeks on the road, they do 4 tapings, 4 weeks, they do a 4-hour TV show in Chicago or wherever else they want to go, Miami, Houston, wherever. They take it on the road. They create a hot audience that needs to see the show, and this is the only way they're going to see these guys is seeing this show. They've got to get a live crowd because doing it after SmackDown is obviously not working. I used to think doing it before SmackDown would work, but, that wouldn't work either because they're going to have the late arriving crowd coming from the concession stand, getting their popcorn and T-shirts and Cena foam fingers and so on, and they're not going to be invested in it either. So I think that's one of the main things is getting in front of a live, hot crowd that gives a shit, and possibly having a Mauro and Brian announce team too. That could make a difference too. So at number 9, we've got change the name of the show.
Yeah, I mean, I wished I had a real cool, maybe you do, a real cool name for the show. But 205 Live is, at first I got it. I thought it was okay. I think it kind of, I have no problem calling them cruiserweights. I don't want to call it the Cruiserweight Classic or the only the cruiserweights or whatever, but it's 205 Live is just, when you change this, you need to change the name, you need to change the arena, you're going to have to do major changes, or people are just going to see that name. Some people might see that name and not know what the hell is going on. I think they put it over as being in a Cruiserweight Classic. They really did a good job during that time, stressing, hey, these guys weigh X amount of weight, blah, blah, blah. But if you started watching 205 Live right now, you'd have no idea, really. You'd see a bunch of smaller guys, but are you going to really know why why is it 205 Live? So tell me, you got a catchy name.
Well, no, I along those lines, I said I think that it needs to have its own. It needs to be called its own thing, like the XPW or the XRG or whatever. It needs, for sure, it needs an X in there because it's 2017. It has to have an X in there, just like the Hardys end with a Z. So I think that they need to forget the live. That can go because it doesn't need the show. I think it'd be way better off not being live. And they need to forget the 205. We get it. They're cruiserweights. We don't need to be hit over the head with it. At first, like you said, I think it was important to hammer home the point with the universe and make sure they knew that it was 205 Live. But now it needs to go away and needs to be, like I said, give it its own name. as a promotion, make it its own standalone entity, and relaunch it altogether. They need to lose the taint of being known as, the purple rope and the purple belt promotion. And by the way, small note, I vowed to myself that I bet the word taint on this broadcast, and I succeeded. So at number 8, we've got Triple the Roster.
Man, they've got so much talent. And when they had that, when they were having the Cruiserweight Championship there, we had tons and tons of guys. But for instance, tonight or the show this week, and these are the same guys. These are the same. It seems like we have the same crew all the time. Nothing against these guys. Some of the guys I don't like, but all of them are talented. But you're looking at Dar. You're looking at Cedric Alexander. You're looking at – these are the guys that was on. Ali, who I absolutely love. He's the guy to watch for me. You got Neville, who's got the championship, who I really think is the star of the show, but then you got TJP. How long has TJP been on? They're really, I'm just tired of seeing him. I mean, that's the show. That was who was on the show this week. So, I mean, you got to change up. You got to have different guys. I'm not always a huge fan of what ROH does when it comes to their television, but they do something a little bit different. They have a good roster, good size roster. We don't see the Young Bucks on every show. We don't see, every guy, every show, but they split them up so that you do get to see the Bucks enough. You get to see everyone enough, and they do those little interviews in between. That means something. They mean something for the match coming up, or they mean something for the whole storyline. So that's where I'm going with it. Tons more people that they can use, and they've got tons more guys signed. So.
Yeah, I say way too few guys. Like you said, it's the same 4 or 5 guys every single week. It should have been an indication to us on the very first episode. I think they brought out the entire roster and introduced everybody on the main stage, and it was like 8 guys, So we should have known something just wasn't right away. There's so many quality guys out there. There's so many indies that they can pick and choose from as far as getting guys signed over from either ROH or PWG or whatever. There's so much talent out there, and they insist on running the same 4 or 5 guys out every single week. The Cruiserweight Classic proved that. I mean, they brought in so many guys, and 3/4 of those guys didn't get signed. Surely with the way they're doing the British thing, where they've got these guys under, some odd kind of contract where they can still do stuff in their home promotion and they can still do stuff with WWE, they can sign some guys to do this stuff too, I would think, because all of this is appearing on the network. So they're not going to be appearing on regular TV, so it shouldn't be in violation of anything. I just think they could be more, like you said, ROH. I would think in Lucha Underground, where you get the same, again, a pretty good-sized roster. You get different guys every week, and it makes for a much more entertaining show. So stop rolling out the same 4 guys every single week. Triple the roster. So at number 7, we've got balls-to-the-wall action, indie style.
That's right. Now, Meltzer touched on this in one of his latest issues there, where he said that it kind of felt like that's what they were going to do when they first started this, and then it's kind of slowed down. And no one knows whether that – well, we do know to a certain extent when you got AAW, you got PWG, you got Glory Pro that I go to, you got Freelance that you go to. These are promotions that are not that typical, we're going to, babyface gets to shine, heel starts to heat, babyface starts to come back, gets cut off, babyface still takes more heat, babyface makes comeback, boom, 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 and the match is over. That's a WWE style. That's what all the guys are taught. But let's change the style up. We're going to make this show different. We're not going to worry about, we're going to do New Japan philosophy in the sense that we're going to go balls to the wall. I'm not telling them to hurt themselves and do, I just want more athletic action in the ring. Plus, you got the guys that can do it. These are the guys that's been on the indies, that's been doing this stuff, and they can do it now. So why not let them do it and see if it works?
Yep, I say turn these guys loose. The problem is you brought in guys that do high-flying style and do different types of styles, and you're forcing them into typical WWE, traditional wrestling scripts, like basically what you just described. let them do their thing. You know, these guys all come, like you said, these guys all come from a background where they can do brawling, they can do flying, they can do much more athletic stuff, but they're getting forced into doing this stuff. You see a little bit of it here and there with Neville, but not that much of it. Again, go back to even just the Cruiserweight Classic. You got a lot more different styles of matches there when they brought in some more of the lucha guys, and they had Japanese guys, they had Ibushi. You know, let these guys do their thing. Take off the chains or whatever it was that Curtis Axel used to say, the chains are removed, or whatever his stupid catchphrase was for half an hour. Let these guys do more action-packed stuff. Like you said, I get to go to Freelance, you get to go to Glory Pro. We see nothing but 3+ star matches when we go to those shows. Why can't these guys be doing the same thing? And it doesn't even have to be in the temple type arena. It can be in the regular arena. You know, it can be wherever they film it. They could just let them have great action-packed matches. So at number 6, we've got sit-down interviews a la the Roderick Strong piece on NXT.
That's right. Now, if anyone hasn't seen you don't watch a lot of NXT, but they did an excellent job. It was a 2-parter with Roderick Strong. I think Strong is could be over from something like that. Here's a guy who is just so talented in the ring, but I always made fun of him in ROH because of his interview style and everything. After watching that show, I mean, I could get behind a baby face like that. They also started doing this. We keep going back to this. They started doing this during the tournament. They would have interviews about the guys, and they just, with Perkins winning at that point, he could have been so over with the storylines. Oh, I'm sorry.
You mean TJP?
TJP. I'm sorry. What was I thinking? Yeah. With him winning, the storyline was so good at the time, and it just, they need to get the characters over. Spend some time getting them over, then they can spend some time with when they do those other interviews in between, and then have the hot matches.
Yeah, definitely more personality pieces. What little we know about any of those guys, I think I know more about Noam Dar and Alicia Fox, which is like nothing. I don't even know anything about them, but that's about the only personality we've gotten out of any of these guys. So definitely do some kind of personality pieces, some interviews where they can demonstrate who they are. What little they gave us about Rich Swann, about his parents dying early when he was a kid and stuff, I mean, that was compelling stuff. Whether it was on, the very beginning, they did a little bit of it on the CWC, but with him especially, they did a little bit of it more at the beginning of 205 Live, and they've completely let that go away. And I mean, again, we're again talking about the same 5 guys, so we don't know anything about Neville being a heel. We don't know anything about TJP aside from the stupid dab in the video game entrance and stuff. We know nothing about any of these guys. Kendrick was the rebuilding story, and that's about it. We've got nothing. So you, again, like you said, you've got to get characters that people can invest in, both heel and face, and right now they don't have that whatsoever. So doing something to establish more personality and give these guys credibility where fans care about them and want to watch them week after week. At number 5, we've got add tag team belts.
Now, this is my favorite because I'm the hugest tag team mark of all time, and tag team wrestling is not a big deal in WWE. Hasn't been for a long time. I think they could make it a big deal. I mean, New Japan always has the, tag team belts of the junior guys. We need a cruiserweight tag team titles. They have, the Singh brothers were actually had a good choice there as a tag team. You can match people up and make them tag teams. There's also tag teams out there on the indie scene that they can bring in. This is another way of doing all the stuff that we're talking about, in the sense that you can, if you put on a tag team match at least once a week or maybe every other week, you're going to get something different to do, and something that can, any match that could change what they're doing now. And if you watch, I go back to Ring of Honor, if you watch Ring of Honor, always the Young Bucks match is the match to watch. You can fast forward through a lot of stuff, and you can sit through 3 weeks, and if you know there's a Young Bucks match, you're going to watch it. And that's the way you want it. You want someone to say, okay, on 205 Live, or what the hell we're going to call it, that'd be great, whatever the hell we're going to call it. Then we know that tag team match is going to be hot. And, I mean, it can be. It always was, for WCW and in the old days for the WWE.
I'm just trying to figure out the initials on whatever we're going to call it. WWG Call W Pro. Anyway, the Young Bucks are out there, adding tag teams. Can you imagine if the Young Bucks signed with them? We would all be watching 205 Live, at least for the first couple weeks until they fuck them up. But the Young Bucks are out there. They could be signed. Not to say it's going to happen, and it's certainly not going to happen eminently, but they're out there. A tag team is out there. Or like you said, create your own. You've got more than enough talent on the roster that you could put together a good tag team. The Hardys, the resurgence of the Hardys, and I'm not saying the Hardys should be there by any stretch, but I'm saying, the rumor and the speculation is always that Vince could give a shit about tag team wrestling. Well, I don't know. The Hardys are getting a pretty good push. They got the titles right away. They're about to embark on whatever the broken thing that they're going to do, possibly. So I think they can make tag teams special. Again, it's going to depend on expanding the roster entirely, because you can't – if we're going to put tag team belts on, let's see, who are we down to at this point? Rich Swann and Brian Kendrick will be a tag team, and they will defend the belts against, let's see, it'll be Tozawa and Noam Dar, because that's all we have. So once they triple the roster and they got more bodies, they can add tag teams and add more bodies so they can actually have a tag team division. At number 4, we've got Run Real Angles with some back and forth with the main roster.
I love the idea, and look, I'm not going to be BT the Booker here because who knows? I've done it before, but I've done it, 6 months for a crowd of 120 people. But my idea would be to run some real angles in the sense that people give a shit. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring the people to give a shit again. I really like what they're doing with, even though Enzo's still not one of my favorite people, I love what they're doing with that. I love what they're doing with the angle right now where you don't know really what's going on. You can run real angles, and you can have people jumping people out of nowhere. You can have stables. I really think that if they had some kind of stables, I'm not going to say Bullet Club, even though that might be something to do, but they have to do something that and it may be, like I said, run a real angle in the sense someone from the main roster comes down and does semi-shoot interview talking about how horrible cruiserweights are, and then in the cruiserweights beat them, So I love number one, I love really good wrestling, and I kind of turned into that guy that just likes to watch real good matches, but in the back of my mind, I'm a Memphis guy. I grew up watching Memphis wrestling, so I really like a real good angle also. So that'll help them bring all this back.
Yeah, just more creativity. The only thing they've done is the Alicia Fox thing. I swear, I feel like that's all they've done. And somebody reminded me that they did the Tozawa with the lessons from Kendrick and that. And that's really about it. Honestly, even with Neville and Aries, who have been feuding for, since WrestleMania, there really is no angles or anything there. So they definitely need some back and forth with the main roster as far as, having a pissed-off Dolph Ziggler come in and lay waste to the division for a couple weeks and like you said, have the babyface get his comeuppance at the end of the feud. But yeah, just more creativity. It just feels like it's become completely an afterthought for the writing team. And deservedly so, in the sense that they're already writing 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, and whatever the NXT commitment is from other people. But they're so overworked. They need to have some creative wrestling minds behind 205 Live so that they can actually create some more soap opera stuff that's compelling to get you to want to come back again. Like you said, I hate Enzo, but that is creating some speculation. Who did it? Was it Cass? Was it Dash and Dawson? Who was it? And the whole thing with Angle with the cell phone. Was it Stephanie? Is it nude pictures of Paige dildoing herself? Whatever it is, it's making you interested in wanting to watch it again. So definitely more angles. So at number 3, we've got do a tournament format, not a soap opera format.
Right. I see what you're saying. And I like the idea of doing some kind of seasonal tournaments, somewhat like New Japan does, where we know, February to March, we're going to be doing the C1 tournament, or what we're going to call it. And we do it every year for the number one contender, or the guy needs, he can choose either a tag team, he can choose a tag team title match, or he can choose a singles title match. I love that idea. we had made mention, and you made a note of having one of their major, matches at a pay-per-view. I actually love the idea of, if we do all this other stuff, of making having their special too, and just like they do with NXT. So then you would have, this special on Thursday night or Friday night, the other one on Saturday. I mean, you do it all for a weekend. If you can establish another, promotion or league that people follow, they'll fill those seats up for that whole weekend.
Yeah, when I first thought about the tournament idea, actually, obviously Cruiserweight Classic was a tournament that played out over a number of weeks. But actually what came to mind for me was Bellator. Bellator used to do, before they switched to a more UFC-type style, they did tournaments. And granted, they had different weight classes, so you had different guys on a weekly basis or monthly basis, or however often they were airing. But doing some kind of seasonal tournament so that they've got different guys every time, you get it down to the semifinals, like you said, almost like a New Japan style thing too. And it culminates in their own special, like a takeover type show. You do that live, and you get the crowd hyped for that. No mention of Mojo Rawley. That's gross. Anyway, the future of the company. And then the title shot, once that's determined who wins that season's tournament, then the title shot is granted at the next WWE pay-per-view. So that way, and make that a big one. Try to get it to coincide. Try and get the timing of the tournament to coincide with SummerSlam or WrestleMania or Royal Rumble or whatever the case may be. So that then the Cruiserweight class or the Cruiserweight title match becomes a big deal, becomes defended on the pay-per-views, and is not the pre-show match too, by the way. So go with a tournament format to kind of mix things up a little bit. That's another option. At number 2, we have probably going to be viewed as the most controversial idea. We have add women.
Yeah, and we're not just add women. We're not going to have them come out, as valets or managers, and we're not going to have, them against each other. We're going to have them do, the intergender, what am I trying to say here? Intergender. See, I'm sitting here thinking about Jinder Mahal. That's, and my mind goes to someone else. So here's the thing. Add the girls. I mean, they did one spot. Banks did a spot on the pay-per-view. So, you can do spots with guys. We've already seen this on Lucha Underground. The thing about it is, and you said this was going to be controversial, because the WWE don't know if they'll do that kind of thing now, because they're always so politically correct. I think it's going to also make this show different. You actually had a sample here that I'll let you tell the people, but you've seen Ruby Riott do matches at Freelance, and she's excellent at it. And it takes a lot of people say, well, it's not believable, blah blah blah. It hurts the male wrestler, blah blah. What the hell? It's wrestling. Let's have fun. Let's do something different. And it will. That is another thing that will make this totally different.
Yeah, I think that's what this needs, is a shot in the arm of something completely different to get it on the map, because it's lost it. It would be a stretch for acceptance for sure. But if it's presented seriously, tell me Ruby Riott versus Mustafa Ali wouldn't be a good match. The Ruby Riott / Heidi Lovelace matches in Freelance that I saw live were always with dudes. I think she worked a woman once. If they presented it seriously, and it would be all, essentially the same size people, shall we say? So it wouldn't be like, a Matanza Cueto beating down Sexy Star or something like that. These are going to be roughly all the same size people. So I don't think, if you're presented as an athletic match, I don't think it's going to get the pissed off, the politically incorrect reaction that they're so afraid of, that a man beating up on a woman. If they present it as an athletic match, I think it could work. I've seen so many great, talented women in Shimmer that can go. I mean, my idea was you could have, you could do a women's division and a men's division, or, to have a title on both genders, or you could just have one title. That would work for me, and it goes back and forth between the men and the women, and you build it with compelling characters. And the number one improvement that we have for 205 Live is take them off Raw.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to do it. I kind of touched this on number 3 also, in the sense that we take them off Raw. You know what? I've thought about this over and over, and people say, well, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. But really, Raw needs to be 2 hours. I'm not saying as of now, they still got 3 hours. So my suggestion to them, if they can't fill it up with the talent roster that they have, why not do the first 2 hours of Raw as they do Raw, and Raw is Talk, or Talk is whatever they do, Raw Talk. They do that as the third hour. I mean, the ratings are not there to the point to where it's going to make a huge amount of difference. Actually, with the talk show at the end, it might make more people might be watching it. Then have a special second hour if they wanted to of that, on the network when it goes off. The main thing is get those guys off the Raw television show, and even as I mentioned, I think kind of like they do with NXT, they have specials. I even like the idea of maybe having a Thursday night, maybe 4 of them, and they're not even involved with the other shows, although they will want that, everything with SummerSlam or everything with WrestleMania, but kind of like a Clash of Champions or something like that on a Thursday night, and just have something special. You can make stars on things like that where people will go out of their way just to watch that show, and when they do, then they'll go out of their way to come back to the network to start watching 205 Live.
Yeah, I think now on Raw they've become the bathroom break. They've become, when the purple, and we joke about the purple ropes and the belt, but when the fans there live see the purple ropes getting attached, I'm sure that's when they're hitting the concession stand, and that's when they're going to the bathroom. And at home, they come back from a commercial break and it's the purple ropes, and you're like, oh, I guess I can go make a sandwich now. They've ruined their specialness, by having them on Raw. I think what they need to do is, like you said, give them an NXT-like show where that's the only place you see them. It needs to be destination TV, a standalone product where that's the only way you're going to see these guys. And that will create more of a fan frenzy to want to watch the show and to want to go to see the shows when they come to your town. And then I was thinking the flip side of this, if they're not going to take them off of Raw, if they're going to leave them on Raw and they're going to be stubborn and dig their heels in, here's an idea. Give them the goddamn main event once in a while and give them some credibility. Tell me that you couldn't do the last 15 minutes of the show, which is supposedly the hottest point of the show, with Aries and Neville main eventing the show. Give them back their credibility. If you're going to keep them on Raw, let them get the main spot once in a while.
Hey, man, Lance, it was fun as usual. Thanks for joining me. Hey, everyone, thanks
Awesome.
for joining us. We do love doing the Cool Kids Countdown every other week. That's bi-weekly. Join us right here. Same bat time, same bat channel. See y'all in 2 weeks.
Panera now delivers, so you can order good, clean food right to your office, or door, or porch, or backyard, or front yard, or apartment, or dorm, or castle, or shop, or worksite, or wherever. For lunch, dinner, and everywhere in between. Click the banner to order or visit PaneraBread.com. Participating locations only. St. Louis Bread Company. Food as it should be. Panera now delivers, so you can order good, clean food right to your office, or door, or porch, or backyard, or front yard, or apartment, or dorm, or castle, or shop, or worksite, or wherever. For lunch, dinner, and everywhere in between. Click the banner to order or visit PaneraBread.com. Participating locations only. St. Louis Bread Company. Food as it should be.